Hello 110 and welcome to week 4. By now you've read a number of different short stories with a serious number of different themes and symbols and plot and give you plenty to talk about, which is a good thing because that's what you're going to do this week, talk about it. Not so much face to face, but in paper form. That's right, it's first paper time. Time to start thinking about your first draft of your first paper, which means that you're going to select a story of your interest and sort of delve into it in the same way that we've been doing with some of the other featured stories in the earlier discussion boards. You do not have to choose one that we've already read. Look through the thematic table of contents that's attached on Canvas and choose one that presents a theme that's of interest to you because you're going to use it again with drama and the second paper. And so, if you've chosen something that is appealing to you beyond what I assigned you, it usually makes for better papers and better discussion than me mandating which ones you choose. So please feel free. You can select from anywhere in the book. It's all fair game. Should be a short story though, and then follow the rest of the setup for the prompt. Let's take a look at those things now. This week you are basically working on your first paper. There's a number of links for what the first paper entails. Please check it out and read it carefully. Oftentimes, I've had students in the past use a story that was already declared off limits from the very beginning, and that's just not something that you want to get into. Sure, I'll let you redo it, but then you actually have to go and redo it. Instead, let's make more efficient use of our time and be aware of the requirements for paper 1. In addition, to try and help, I would highly suggest reviewing the chapters in these pages for help in completing your first essay. It's a response essay, and if you're not used to response writing, then it can be a little bit tricky. All these rules still apply. You still want to be able to quote and cite and document freely and correctly according to MLA 8. You want to know what you can paraphrase and summarize and deal with in a much more succinct manner and direct manner so as to keep some of your voice in the essay. These 3 chapters all sort of cover those basic moves and are helpful in that way. Then you read the prompt for paper 1. You can pick any story but cathedral. No cathedral. It is a great story, but branch out. We've done plenty with that within ourselves. And in fact, you can choose any story that you like. It could be one that you've already read, but I would highly suggest that you check out the Norton Anthology thematic table of contents here and decide, okay, if these are the thematic units, what out of those am I interested in? Because this paper and the next paper, in an effort to not recreate the wheel, can be combined together. In other words, you can use the same story or stories twice. So look through, see what the themes are, and then if you haven't really hit a story that sort of caught your fancy, choose a different one. You do not have to use one that we've read, you just cannot use cathedral. Other than that, any and all are fair game. If you would like, I am available this week, Tuesday and Thursday, for some Zoom meetings. I know most of you work most of the time, but if you send an email, I can set one up for you and I so that you can get your questions answered. It is possible we could just handle it by email too, so please don't be intimidated, but rather get the feedback that you want. You want to try to complete a rough draft and post it to the discussion board number 5 by Thursday at 11:59. Then download the peer editing guide to sort of help you work your way through peer editing others, because what you will do is peer edit 2 papers by Sunday at 11:59, right? And if we're all using Doc and DocX, which by now we should be, you can actually insert comment function and track changes. If you're not sure how to do those things, again, please ask or email me and I can show you. And that way you can actually give people some really good, really immediate feedback in their paper directly right away. Ideally, I would have you make an appointment with the Writing Center, either as a face-to-face or a Zoom appointment, right? Most of you are not going to have to opt for the Zoom appointment considering your schedules. No problem, but try to make an appointment with the Writing Center to work your way through the paper. Show them the prompt, show them what you've been asked to do, right? And then take a look at what you have. And that way you can get a little more strong feedback. It could just be something as simple as, hey, please check my quotations, citations, and documentation. This is probably the thing that gets most papers into trouble because it's the thing that people have the least amount of practice with on a regular basis, either in their daily lives or even really in their academic careers. You might use it in one class and not in another. Sadly, this is a class you need it in. So make sure you know how to attribute a quote, right? There should be a he writes, she writes, they say, he says. Don't just dump a quote in the middle of a paper without anybody saying or doing or writing it. Make sure you know what your citations look like and how to document within the text itself, right? That's probably the biggest hang-ups on the first paper for most. Then try to revise your paper based on your peer responses, prepare for your writing center appointment, and then the paper would be due the following week, right? Okay. Hopefully that clears it up. This stuff is all available in the week 4 module as well. I'll show you that real quick and get you on your way. Quick note under grading materials, there's all kinds of things to help you. Sample MLA, a sample works cited, the guide for MLA 8, guide for MLA citation books, how to deal with easy punctuation issues. If you have some that you know are always issues for you, take a look. Definitely take a look at the incorporating quotes, how to integrate, how to avoid dropped quotes, what to capitalize, right? And last but not least, 2 things about titles. 1, know when to how to punctuate which kind of title. What is it you're talking about? Who gets commas? Who gets italicized? Who gets underlined, right? This I would expect to be done correctly. It's a small matter, but it's an easy matter. It's just a question of diligence. I would also expect that you use the literary present, right? Meaning the story didn't happen, it's currently happening. Every time you open up, the story is again happening. For those of you who are as old as me, you might remember the never-ending story, right? And Atreyu has to lose his horse every time because every time we open it back up, there he is stuck in the swamp again. I know, it's a crushing, hard thing to think about on a Monday, and maybe even worse if you don't know who I'm talking about. Anyway, use the literary present because it is currently happening as you read the story, right? The character of Leroy is smoking on the couch, right? He didn't smoke on the couch. He is smoking on the couch and doing, it's all happening currently. Last note about titles, give yourself one, right? The most boring thing in the world as a audience is to get a paper or an article that would say Article 1, Paper 1. Don't do that. Give yourself a title, a clever title. One way to think about it is something sexy, something smart, right? And while this doesn't follow that pattern, the something sexy is usually something witty, something clever like Lincoln Logs and Shopping Mall Realism, Bobby Ann Mason's Shiloh and the theme of persistent guilt. That is a title. Give yourself a treat, give yourself a title. Please don't just make it paper 1. Here's all the stuff in week 4, another little tutorial on theme and symbol. Again, the response prompt for paper 1, the thematic contents for the Norton Anthology, and the peer edit guide, and the DB5. Okay. Hopefully you're not in too much of a grind this week. I know it's that stretch where we're close to the end and you've got a bunch of stuff from me that I'm throwing at you here in the second OAP session. I'm sure your other professors are no less diligent in their assignment of work. So, remember, take a deep breath. I'm more than happy to work with you. If you need to see me this week or want to chat about your paper or your idea, please email me and reach out. We can set up a Zoom chat. I know most of you work all day. I'm free in the evenings. I do have 2 small children, so it might be a little crazy around here, but bring it on, man. When isn't it crazy in here? This place is like Vegas. There's no clocks. No one knows what day it is, and alcohol is fine any time of the day. Anyway, if you need help, please reach out. I'm happy to chat. Okay? I'll let you go with this. Guy walks into the bar, sits down, and he hears this little voice say, "Hey, that guy's got a great shirt on." He looks down and yeah, it's all right, doesn't think much about it. keeps enjoying his beer. A little while later, he hears, "Hey, that guy's got a great haircut." Huh? Looks around, he's the only one at the bar. Keeps enjoying his beer. A little while later, he thinks he hears another little voice say, "Hey, that guy, he seems like he's a really good conversationalist." Finally, the dude at the bar is like, "Hey, bartender." Bartender turns around, "Yeah?" It's like, "Do you hear that? I mean, I know I've had a long day, but I keep hearing all these little voices, and they're awfully, you know," and the bartender's like, I got you, man. Don't worry, you're not crazy. It's the peanuts. They're complimentary. Have a good week. Please let me know if I can be of help.